love starting out with applause. Welcome, everybody, to Outside the Huddle. I am your host, Dr. O.T. Porter, the NGFFL's Director of Communications, and I am communicating directly with you from my home here in Houston, Texas, and I am super excited about tonight's show. Each episode of Outside the Huddle features the individuals who compete with the many obstacles necessary to overcome that which allows us to connect and unite both on and off the field of play, and that's what makes our NGFFL family so unique. So tonight we are going to hear from one of our city leaders from the city of Houston, the commissioner, but this is a superbly special episode for me because not only is this individual the commissioner of the Houston League and a national ref, he is also my husband. So this will be fun to get a little peek inside of his head about all things football. Not that I don't get enough of that. But let's welcome to the show Dr. Chad Porter Fisher. Dr. Chad Porter Fisher, welcome to Outside the Huddle.
Well, thank you, Dr. Porter. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good.
I'm glad to share my story.
Yes, I'm glad that you were able to step up and fill in for the people who made some promises they didn't keep. Yeah, I'm still shady. Nonetheless, what I want to do is just jump right in so that we can get to talking about what people really care to know about outside of our personal relationship. So,
yeah, that's what people want
to know about.
They're not going to get that tonight.
That is probably more interesting, but I mean, this is about football. So, let's jump right in. When did you officially join the NGFFL with the Panthers?
So I was living in Lansing, Michigan, in the middle of nowhere in NGFFL world. The nearest place for me to join a football league was in the Detroit area, Detroit, Ann Arbor. And I met a guy on realjock.com. I was just looking for something to get involved with. I wasn't really finding anybody that I really matched with around Lansing. No one really that I clicked with. I didn't really feel a part of the community at all. So I was just looking for something else. So I was looking for some guys who were into sports. So I just went on realjock.com, and I only talked to one guy on there ever the whole time, and that man was Leron Kopelman, who was at the time the head of the Michigan Panthers. And he was, of course, recruiting as Leron does, just talking to me about football, and we talked for over a year. He was just trying to get me to come. It's not that far of a drive. We practice like 45 minutes from your house. And I was like, no, that's too far. And now living in Houston, 45 minutes is nothing. But back then, 45 minutes was a long ways to drive. So I wouldn't go. So finally, I got a job in the Detroit area and was down there quite a bit. So I decided to check this out. So I went to my first practice, and I got a taste of what they were doing. That was before they had a league, and in that area we just had a travel team. So I started practicing then.
How long ago was that? That was about.
I'm sorry. That was 2009.
Okay, so you've been a part of the NGFFL family for almost a decade.
Yes, I have.
Wow.
And the first event I went to was Chicago Pride Bowl in 2009, and had a terrible experience, but we can get to that later. But
those Chicago tournaments are brutal, though. That is tough. They party hard in Chicago. They have so many games. You have to be prepared when you go to Chicago.
Yeah.
So I understand that the first tournament possibly was tough. So take me to the moment where you knew you wanted to be or take on a leadership role in Michigan, because I know you had a leadership role there before you came to Houston. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I was involved with the league. I left, actually, after that Chicago tournament. I had a terrible experience, and not because of the brutality of the play. It was we just had a rough go of it, and I don't want to get into all the details, but one of our guys was in jail, another one went to the hospital, some guys got tased, one of our starting quarterback died on that weekend.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it was just a horrible experience. So much happened, and there was a lot going on. So I was like, I'm not sure if I need this level of intensity in my life. So I didn't go to the, I think Gable was in DC that year, I think, and I didn't do that. But then I came back because I just had a really good time, and the guys were just really, really fun to be around. And so I just started hanging around more. I went to some more tournaments. Once I got out of jail. Yeah. To be fair, I was only one guy, but still. So I just had a really, really, really positive experience, and they just welcomed me with open arms. Every guy out there, I felt like this was home. I felt like this was a family, and I really wanted to do what I could to expand it. And so we started to develop a league, and Leron was really, really big with that. Paul Nettles was also huge in helping to make that league happen. Jax, myself, there's a couple other guys too that really made a big impact there. But we just really wanted to see other people experience what we got to experience. So I would get people to come. I actually brought 2 whole teams almost by myself to the league. We grew up to a league of yeah, I gotta put it out there sometimes. But we ended up with a league of like 8, and I wasn't even on the board at that time. I was just really trying to build into it, and they asked me to be a part of it, and I would always do what I could, but I was working on my dissertation, and you know how that is. It's just you just don't have the extra time to spend on, to be a board member. But I was still doing whatever I could to really be a leader in the area. So I did what I could, and then after I graduated, or I got a little more free time, I got to a place in my dissertation where I could take a leadership role, and then I started, or I became a board member, and I just love being a part of making the decisions and helping people feel a part of the league, and really try to do what we could to build it.
Yeah, and you guys did a great job there in Michigan, because Michigan was one of those teams that was sort of, I mean, not teams, but just overall leagues, teams that was always sort of on the cusp. And I know that you were integral in helping push them back in the right direction so that their league was sustainable. What efforts did you have to make to see that happen?
Yeah, it was some really, really fun times, and then there was some struggles. There was some times when we had some players that just were kind of cancerous to the organization, and we had to really kind of step away from some people. And some people were trying to push the league in a direction we didn't want to go. And we had some people on the field that weren't really about our mission, weren't really supporting our mission. Heard the word faggot one time out there, which was absolutely, uncalled for. Can never have that in LGBT.
Unacceptable.
Field. Unacceptable, for sure. So we just had to go through some really painful stuff of really trying to pull away from certain people. I'd go try to recruit at a bar, and people would ask me, is this person still playing? And I'd say yes, and they'd say I don't want to play if they're playing. And that happened far too often, till we had to kind of step aside from them out of the league and get them back to a point where they could fulfill the mission. And until they got to that point, they couldn't really be a part of the league. And that's tough, because everyone that I've had to do that with are people that I was friends with, or definitely had a connection with, but it can't be personal. It's got to be about the mission, and that is to try to make a safe place for gay people to come and feel welcome and feel a part of this family.
Good. So when you talk about leadership, because that's basically what you're talking about right now, what would you say are some of the best qualities? Give me 3 that you need to see in a leader.
I think first and foremost, it's servanthood. I mean, you are a servant first and foremost, and anyone that tries to step into a leadership role thinking that you're the big cheese now, you're the one that's going to bark out orders and, make people do what you want them to do. It's not what it's about. It's about serving. You're behind the scenes. It's a thankless job, as you know, and anybody who's been on a board, no one cares what you've done. No one cares what you've done to make things happen. It just better be damn good. That's all they care about. And everyone's got all these comments about how it could be better, but push comes to shove, you got to be the servants that listen. You got to listen to what people are saying, and you have to try to implement as best you can to fulfill the mission and listen to everybody as much as you can. You can't please everybody, but you just try to do the best you can. So being a servant and being a good listener, which I kind of alluded to, you got to listen to people and be able to be humble is probably my third thing. I might have some great ideas of what I want to do. And even being the commissioner in Houston, I've had things that I wanted to implement, things that I wanted to do, and the rest of the board didn't want to do that. So I had to humble myself and say, okay, well, maybe they have a better plan, and so we'll try their plan. Just get outvoted. So you have to be humble, and now it's our decision as a board, even though it wasn't my decision, but I have to be humble and be able to present that united front.
About this servant thing, we'll talk about that privately behind the scenes, but I'm interested in talking about that with you more.
No.
Yeah,
this is just about the leadership on the board.
Oh, okay, fine. But just know it's on my to-do list. So when we think about leaders, when we're talking about leaders, what's your advice to people interested in leadership roles but maybe a little nervous about doing so?
Well, I would say that try to find something that you feel comfortable and passionate about. If there's an aspect of the board of whatever you're trying to be a part, whichever league you're trying to be a part of, find something that you can do that you think you're good at or that you can offer. For instance, if you're really good with, the websites, you can just come on and be a part of building websites because that's an important part. That's the first thing a lot of people see. You hand them a card at a bar, and they go to the website and they check it out. So if you're really good at developing that, do that well. And don't feel like you have to do everything and be a part of everything, but just find your niche, find some place where you can be used and use your talents to do that, to do what needs to be done. The other thing is, it might not just be that sort of talent, but if you have a heart. We have somebody on our board who's kind of quiet, but she's our women's liaison, and she really has a strong heart to do it. She really wants to do a good job, and she's very passionate about it. And she'll quietly say, hey, let's do this. She's not going to be the one, knocking down every door, talking to everybody, but she does, come up with good ideas, and she'll, do what she needs to do.
Okay. So that's actually great advice. I actually want to ask you another advice question because we talked about this. Well, I talked about it at the top of the show, where you are not only a former player, a former and current city leader, but you're also a referee on the local and national level. How do you balance that? Because I know lots of leagues have issues with balancing, referees who are players or board members. How do you strike that balance in being a solid and quality referee and not let it interfere with everything else, friendships, football? How do you do that?
I just ultimately I say, WWLD. What would Lance do? And that's what I live by. I see that
a great mantra.
I mean, I see that sort of kiddingly, but I really do. I have a lot of respect for him and how he handles himself.
Lance is fantastic.
Especially in a referee setting. I mean, I don't think there's any other that really understands the game, understands the nuances of player relationships, and can really know how to handle things. I just really try to do my best to just think about being fair, being honest, being open with communication and really explaining things. I think that really helps a ton on the field, especially as a referee. If you can explain why things happened the way they did, why the call was made, So you get new players in there, and they don't really understand. They might know you as, they might know me as the commissioner, so they might be a little intimidated, if anybody can believe that anybody's intimidated by me. But it does happen.
Not me. It's not me.
Just with the title, people go, oh, he's the commissioner. But, if they make a mistake or something, I'll just walk up and be like, hey, here's what you did wrong. Try this. Or before I throw a penalty flag, I'll just go give them a warning and explain, maybe they didn't know the rule that well. So just try to explain things in a firm but, friendly voice, and just help them to see that. But it is a balancing act to play. To wear all those hats and try to do what I can. But I just try to be as encouraging, try to listen as much as I can, but still give firm calls and just be confident in my answers.
That it's the best thing you can do. And any of the listeners who know me know that I'm also a national referee, and it is difficult. And Lance does a fantastic job at training us. So big shout out to Lance. We love you, Mr. Handsome Burridge. So thank you for your tutelage, because you have allowed us to blossom and expand what we do. And speaking of expansion, what advice would you have, if any, for people who are in your position or something similar, where they are looking to create a league? Because as you see, the NGFFL is growing so much. We have, in the last year, we've expanded 4 additional cities. So I'm sure, and I'm hoping this will reach people who are listening. So what's your advice to those people looking to do something like you have in Houston or in Michigan with creating a league?
The one thing I'll say, and I think Ryan said the same thing when I listened to his podcast with you, is don't worry about being huge. We love you, Ryan. We do. Don't worry about being huge right off the bat. We're not shooting for 16 teams. We're going to, you see Boston and you see DC and you see these other leagues that have really been around for a while. And they have all these teams. In Boston, I was talking to the referees in Florida. They said they sell out their whole league in like 6 minutes or something ridiculous. It's like, come on. So you don't have to try to be that. Yeah. But you just try to do what you can. We have 4 teams in Houston. We've had 4 teams in Michigan before, but we had 4 good teams. We had people that wanted to be there, had a great experience. The league here in Houston, we had to take a step back because we were getting sort of away from our mission. So when I ran as commissioner, that was the one thing I ran on. My main focus, my main platform was to try to get back to our mission. We are here to serve the LGBTQ community, and we want to make it a place where people can come and have a good time and, have that friendly competition, do the social events. We play football too, and I think we've done that. We went from 8 teams to 4 teams in that process. We lost a lot of straight players, which, there's some really great straight allies here in Houston and Michigan and across the NGFFL. Some great straight allies that are really, really helpful. They understand the mission. A couple of our captains here in Houston are some of the best we have at really trying to fulfill our mission. But then there's some other guys that are just looking to play football, and they get their attitudes, and they don't come to any social events. They don't try to branch out. They bring people, but everybody they bring is straight, and they don't really care about the mission. And some of those guys aren't in the league anymore, and I'm okay with that. I'd rather take that step back and have fewer players, but have it be a better experience. I always say a better product on the field. What product are we putting out there that people are coming, they're investing money in? I used to say that. I've heard you say it. I'm paying money to be a part of this. This is my leisure time. This is my fun. And if I'm not having fun, I don't want to be a part of it. I got other things.
Especially as expensive as it is. Yes, cleats are not cheap, especially if you want them to be cute. My mantra used to be, before I met you and during our time, in Houston, we used to have so much fun. We used to say our drinking league had a football problem because we were having so much fun that we forgot it was about football sometimes. So,
Yeah.
I love that Houston is getting back to that. I love that places like Phoenix are getting back to that. D.C. is going through those sort of changes. There are all these cities that are really starting to focus on, hey, yes, we're supposed to be competitive. Yes, we're supposed to send our best teams to Gay Bowl and to Pride Bowl. Yes, we want to have a kick butt league, but we also want people to have fun. We want people to enjoy this. And so it's great to hear you say that. It's great to know that that is where Houston is headed. So I want to wrap up, but before I wrap up, are there any closing thoughts from you that you think the listeners should hear that I have not already covered?
One thing I just really wanted to say is that the NGFFL has been just so important, and it's so important to me. It's so important to you, I know, and a lot of people that are listening, and maybe they don't really understand why. And I just wanted to talk just about, for me, why it's so important. I mean, it was when I found the NGFFL, I was in a place where, like I said, I didn't really feel like I fit in anywhere in the gay world. And I found a place where I could have this friendly camaraderie, and I had a family. I had a family in Michigan. Those were my friends. Those were the ones I hung out with. Mostly were the football guys. When we moved to Houston, most of the guys I hung out with are the football guys. And I go to these national tournaments and met some great people that I consider some good friends and their family. This is my family. And I joined the referee club, and the Zebra Gang is awesome. And that's another family I built. My first crush,
Team
my first
Dazzle.
straight crush, I should say. My first straight crush, Marvin from Washington. The first guy I ever hit on at a Pride Bowl, actually. But turned out to be a great guy. Just my little straight allies, just wonderful people. I just met so many people and just
shout out
want to
Shauna.
encourage people.
We love you too.
Yes, we love you, Shauna. That's his wife.
Yes.
But yeah, just if you're building the league, and just make sure that you capitalize on that family atmosphere and that fun. Because that's what it's all about, making sure people feel welcome and feel a part of the community.
And feel loved.
And feel loved.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Chad Porter Fisher, on Outside the Huddle. So this will be released very, very shortly on YouTube, Facebook. So for all of you listening, please leave comments on our YouTube page. Please recommend people for this podcast. Please become a part of what we're doing here, because these conversations are important. I think they help push the league forward. It helps show people how you can do things, what you can do, and, it shows the love that all of the people have for the NGFFL and why. So please make sure you're a part of future episodes. Suggest people, or, call me, email me, send me a text message, whatever, to be a part of the show. So thank you once again to Dr. Chad Fisher. Thank you to all of you who are listening to the podcast. And until next time that we meet, be kind to yourself and be kind to all the others you encounter as you compete, connect, and unite in the NGFFL. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.